How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Hello, America. It is Eric Erickson here, and we have now the assassin. I guess you're supposed to say alleged, but we have the assassin in jail in Utah, turned in by his family. The initial reports are that his father is the one who turned him in. They said family. Other press are being told on background it actually was his father, who also declined the FBI money. There was a reward out. The FBI had put out a reward for $100,000 for information leading to the arrest. The initial reports are that he confessed to some relatives or friends. His father was a retired sheriff's deputy from Utah County, apparently, and turned him in, declining that FBI reward money. A friend also said that this guy, who apparently 4.0 student, almost perfect score on the ACT, very smart kid, but dumbly texted a friend and said, basically, would you pick up my rifle? I left it in the woods. He carved anti-fascist sentiments on the bullets. And also some references to what the press had originally referred to as transgenderism statements. Actually, it's a I don't want to go deep in the weeds here, but it's basically online references to furry culture, if you know what those are. It's very big on TikTok and Tumblr and a few subreddits. He's very hyper online, apparently, and radicalized on the left. It's very interesting now. A number of members of the media are trying to downplay the motivation. The governor and sheriff said this guy did express sentiments to his family that he hated Charlie Kirk, and he was radicalized on the left. And yet you're having a bunch of reporters say, well, he wore a Donald Trump costume for Halloween. Yes, there's a picture of him with his hands around the throat of a inflatable Donald Trump, looking like he was dragging him around. His family says he had not been political, but became politicized over the last couple of years. I want to dive into some of this. This is the governor of Utah, Spencer Cox, talking about the carvings on the shell casings.
He had changed outfits. I know there has been speculation as well as to the writing on those casings. Those bullet casings, and I believe we have that as well, and I will share that with you now. So the area north of Campus Drive Road where the suspect crossed over, you saw some of that in the video that we released last night, consists of a grassy area with trees on the edge of the UVU campus. Investigators discovered a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a dark-colored towel. The rifle was determined to be a Mauser Model 98 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle. The rifle had a scope mounted on top of it. Investigators noted inscriptions that had been engraved on casings found with the rifle. Inscriptions on a fired casing read, "Notices, bulges, capital OWO, what's this, question mark." Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist, exclamation point, catch, exclamation point." Up arrow symbol, right arrow, and symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols. A second unfired casing read, "Oh Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow." And a third unfired casing read, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO." We are indebted to law enforcement across the state who has worked seamlessly together, local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and our federal partners with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We're grateful for everyone who worked together in such a short amount.
So the Bella Ciao, and just so you know, it's a song sung by the Chinese communists. They have a version of it, but it is very, very popular among anti-fascists. It's also popular in the Atlanta United Soccer Club community and Major League Soccer in the United States. They don't allow a lot of political stuff, but Major League Soccer and the local Atlanta United here in Atlanta, Georgia, allow the singing and displays of signs related to the anti-fascist slogan that this Tyler Robinson etched on the shell casing. It is a sign that he viewed himself as Antifa, as an anti-fascist. All these people who have been saying anti-fascism is a good thing, the anti-fascists are the ones who keep getting us killed, innocent people shot in this country by the anti-fascists. Little more from Spencer Cox.
Was shown by Robinson's roommate. These photos consisted of various messages, including content of messages between the phone contact named Tyler with an emoji icon and Robinson's roommate's device. The content of these messages included messages affiliated with the contact Tyler, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush, messages related to visually watching the area where a rifle was left, and a message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel. The messages also refer to engraving bullets and a mention of a scope and the rifle being unique. Messages from the contact Tyler also mentioned that he had changed outfits.
That's the governor, Spencer Cox. Y'all, I really, really, really do think it is important here to know that a lot of the American press corps is rapidly now moving on from the story because we now know that the shooter is of the left. And I also think you need to know that there is an online propaganda effort happening by people on the left to claim that this guy was a Republican because his family, though not very partisan, appeared to have sympathies to the right. We're watching in real time some in the American press, not all, some, but a lot of progressives tried to deny that this guy was on the left. We get lectured constantly about right-wing violence, and they're trying to push this guy into being on the right, and yet he killed Charlie Kirk, said he hated him, argued with his family about him, etched on the on the shell casings anti-fascist slogans that have been embraced by the left. Based on what we know so far, the evidence so far, it appears he became radicalized online down rabbit holes, and I want to speak for a moment on that. I have a great relationship with my son. He's 16. I think I've told you guys this before. We have our hot tub in the backyard from Georgia Spa Company, and he was out there one night by himself, had his iPad out, was watching something, and was real close to the iPad. I was like, oh, gosh, what is my 16-year-old watching out in the dark backyard by himself with no one around? And I sneaked around the back of the house to see. It was a Tim Keller sermon. It was a Tim Keller sermon. I try to talk to my kids, and I have since they were little, about the darkness that's on the internet. I've tried to explain to my kids that there actually is evil on the internet, and that you will stumble upon it and you will get sucked into it. And they needed to be very, very careful about where they went on the internet, and tried to explain to my son how boys his age are oftentimes engaged by other boys with links to pornography, and that pornography is bad. It is harmful to him. It is harmful to the people who are involved in it. It is demonic. It is going to ruin future relationships, and it is highly addictive. And he needs to work with all of his strength to avoid it and those who would try to get him to look at it. It's conversations you have to have with your kids these days. There are a lot of you right now listening, probably my age. You've got teenage kids, and increasingly young men are going onto Reddit and Tumblr and TikTok and elsewhere, and they're becoming radicalized behind your back, and you don't even know it. And what happens is one link goes to another link, goes to another link, goes to another link, and pretty soon you're down the rabbit hole. I'm seeing it actually happen with some people on the right now, that maybe this guy was on the left, or it could be that the shell casings were false flags. False flags, you hear that a lot. False flags. Maybe he actually was on the right, and Charlie Kirk was too moderate for him. Maybe. Why should we believe the authorities? People who C.S. Lewis said, when you see through everything, you see nothing. And there are a lot of people, their default reaction is to not believe anything they hear. And then they try to stitch together the truth by not believing any of the facts presented, but by believing the opposite. So they never actually see anything, and they go down rabbit holes. It's a very dangerous world. And this young man, Tyler Robinson, based on what we know so far, got radicalized online. Some of the things that he carved on the casings suggest he had been down the sexuality rabbit holes on TikTok and Tumblr related to furry culture and stuff. I'm not going to go into it. Just trust me, unfortunately. And then the anti-fascist stuff. The online culture can be very, very poisonous. One more from Governor Cox.
We get to make decisions. We have our agency. And I desperately call on every American, Republican, Democrat, liberal, progressive, conservative, MAGA, all of us to please, please, please follow what Charlie taught me. I'll just conclude with with words I share often from a friend and author, Yuval Levin, who was asked if he was optimistic about our country, and he said, "I'm not optimistic." He said, "I hate optimism." God, that sounds bad. But he said, optimism is a vice. It's this idea that good things are just going to happen. And he said, in the history of the world, good things have never just happened. He says, I'm not optimistic, but I am hopeful. And hope is the virtue that sits between the vices of optimism and pessimism. Hope is the idea that good things are going to happen because we can make them so. I still believe in our country. And I know Charlie Kirk believed in our country. I still believe that there is more good among us than evil. And I still believe that we can change the course of history. I'm hopeful because Americans can make it so.
He also said, go touch some grass. That social media is poisonous. And it is poisonous. It is poisonous. This young man, you need to note this for the record, believed Charlie Kirk was a fascist. It is the language that the left uses about the right every day. It is the language Democratic politicians use to refer to Donald Trump and his supporters every day. And he got radicalized and poisoned by the people using that language. And now the people who are using that language are like, oh, not us, not us. Literally, I put up a tweet. That says, we're watching in real time on social media the large progressive accounts trying to claim Tyler Robinson as a Trump-loving Republican. And Sarah Longwell, the founder and publisher of The Bulwark, replies, all Americans watched in real time as the President of the United States held an Oval Office address accusing the radical left of Charlie Kirk's murder when he had zero information about the killer. I'm sorry, but we actually know that the killer was of the radical left, and it didn't take a rocket scientist to know that it was someone on the radical left who assassinated Charlie Kirk. It did not take a rocket. Everyone knew on the right the moment it happened, it was someone on the left. And you're like, well, the president didn't know at the time, and he said it. Well, guess what? It turns out the president was right. Why don't you shut up and recognize that the violent rhetoric on the left is festering and rotting people's brains? We have a guy who decided to kill Charlie Kirk because he decided Charlie Kirk was a fascist because the internet told him so. Can we talk about quality for just a minute? Because I can tell you, as I'm updating some furniture in my house that's lasted a very long time, it pains me to see all the cheapy disposable furniture where you're buying cheap stuff that you replace more often. You're actually losing money. It's like people who go out and they buy very cheap sheets, but at the same time, there are people who think they've got to throw thousands of dollars at bed sheets. I actually know someone who spent $1,500 on sheets. My Bull and Branch sheets, they've lasted longer than that guy's sheets, and they're super soft now. They're not the highest thread count, no, but they're organic cotton, and they're long-lasting, and they get softer over time. Feel the difference an extraordinary night's sleep makes with Bull and Branch. Get 15% off plus free shipping on your first set of sheets at bullandbranch.com/Eric. That's Bull and Branch, BOLLAND, branch.com/Eric, ERICK. Save 15%, unlock free shipping, exclusions apply. Honestly, some memo must have gone out to the left. Let me read you. This is from the progressive Fred Guttenberg. He was white. He was Christian. He was from a conservative law enforcement family. He was raised with guns. It's time for the violent rhetoric and threats of future violence to end. That's one. Here's Ron Filipkowski, another progressive. So after days of Republicans blaming and vilifying Democrats and trans people for Kirk's murder, despite having no clue who the person was, we find out it's a white guy from a Republican family in Utah who loved guns. Or Sarah Longwell from The Bulwark saying that, what was her tweet to me, that you didn't know. All Americans watched in real time the President of the United States held an Oval Office address accusing the quote-unquote radical left of Charlie Kirk's murder when he had zero information about the killer. Or there's Chris Jackson, who used to work with the Biden team. Your president, talking to me, your president sat in the Oval Office and said he was an extreme leftist. Sit down. He was an extreme leftist. He actually was. He was a progressive who carved anti-fascist slogans on his ammunition. He hated Charlie Kirk because of his political views, and the left is in complete denial right now, complete denial that this was a progressive anti-fascist activist gunning down Charlie Kirk. They can't bring themselves to admit the truth because if they did, they would have to have the conversations they don't want to have about the festering problems on their side. See, what's actually going on here, and you need to understand this, is that all of these progressives are of the mindset that if you do not embrace progressivism, you are evil. That's where the progressive mindset is. If you do not embrace their agenda, you are evil. And your words are violent, and they can engage your words with their own violence, which is what Robinson, the assassin, did. And the left is now trying to pretend he isn't one of their own when his own words written on his own bullets said he was. Wow. Okay, we got to talk about Hillsdale College because they would love to have you engage with them. They've got a great class on the Federalist Papers. You can go to Eric, ERICK, ericforhillsdale.com and sign up with Hillsdale College today. And you can take this class completely free. It is 30-minute episodes. I think there are 10 of them in the Federalist Papers one. And it's fantastic. You go to ericforhillsdale.com, and then they've got 40 classes to choose from. So you can choose classes about politics or philosophy or history or literature or economics or math or chemistry. There's so much for you to engage with at Hillsdale College. Eric, ERICK, ericforhillsdale.com. Go sign up with Hillsdale today and take one of their great classes and learn a great deal about the history of this country. ericforhillsdale.com. When we come back, the data on the growing problems Democrats have. In business, they say you can have better, cheaper, or faster, but you can only pick two. What if you could have all three at the same time? That's exactly what Cohere, Thomson Reuters, and Specialized Bikes have since they've upgraded to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. OCI is the blazing fast platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs, where you can run any workload in a high availability, consistently high performance environment and spend less than you would with other clouds. How's it faster? OCI's block storage gives you more operations per second. Cheaper? OCI costs up to 50% less for compute, 70% less for storage, and 80% less for networking. Better? In test after test, OCI customers report lower latency and higher bandwidth versus other clouds. This is the cloud built for AI and for all your biggest workloads. Right now, with zero commitment, try OCI for free. Head to oracle.com/Erickson, Erickson. That's oracle.com/Erickson. Hello, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. The phone number is 877-973-7425. It's an open line Friday, but we're being a little judicious on phones today because a lot of people's emotions are raw, and I'm kind of been overwhelmed this week. I know everyone else is as well, and I'm actually ready for other news to move on to. I need to talk to you about something. We left today's show notes outside the paywall so anyone and everyone can get it. If you go to, if you text the word Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777, the very first link, you get a series of links back. The very first link is to my daily email. And if you click into the show notes, you'll see the data I want to review with you, because there is growing violence and violent tendencies and exclusionary tendencies on the left. I have declined a lot of opportunities in the past couple of months to go on CNN. I like the network and I like a number of the anchors, even as I think the network has decidedly moved to the left. But I don't want to go on because the only time they ever want me to come on is when I've criticized the president for something. And I actually do spend more time praising him than criticizing him, but you'd never know it by CNN. I don't want to be the anti-Scott Jennings, and I just don't want to be defined as the Republican CNN brings on to criticize Republicans, because I do criticize Republicans, but I praise them as well. I vote for them. I join them in opposition to the left. But I have gone on it numerous times in the past and said, I wish Donald Trump wouldn't say certain things. I do think people on the right need to turn down rhetoric. What I find, though, is that there's never a Democrat to come on and say Democrats need to turn down rhetoric, because we're having all these conversations about Charlie Kirk. Adam Schiff, the senator from California, put out a piece yesterday about how we actually are headed towards fascism and dictatorship, and Donald Trump's a dictator. And it comes on the heels of Chris Murphy of Connecticut saying that Democrats have to fight fire with fire and that they are in a war for our country and have to do things they otherwise wouldn't be comfortable doing. And there are no people trotted out on CNN to tell the Democrats to calm down their rhetoric. It's always about the right. And to the extent they want to confront violence and violent tendencies on the left, they always have to both sides say, well, the Republicans started it. Well, Donald Trump brings out the worst in everybody. Can we not just focus on the Democrats? Because this guy is a progressive activist. He carved anti-fascist slogans on his ammunition before he killed Charlie Kirk. His family says he's recently become politically active, and he hated Charlie Kirk for his political views. He was not on the right. And the left right now on social media, on Twitter, is coming after me for pointing out accurately, based on the facts, this guy was a progressive anti-fascist activist, and they can't handle the truth because they would have to have a reckoning with how this keeps happening on their side. They praise Luigi Mangione, where this guy probably got the inspiration for carving slogans on the ammunition. Luigi Mangione is a hero to the left for killing an insurance CEO. They haven't vilified the guy. You had some of the reporters talking about how hot he was. A couple of months ago, Axios, July, did a piece. Democrats are scared of their base. House Democrats told Axios they see growing anger among their base that has, in some cases, morphed into a disregard for American institutions, political traditions, and even the rule of law. This idea that we're going to save every norm and that we're not going to play the Republicans' game, I don't think that's resonating. Another told Axios there is a, quote, a sense of fear and despair and anger among voters, puts us in a different position where we can't keep following norms of decorum. For months, Democrats have fumed that their base's demands to fight harder misunderstands the lack of legislative and investigative power afforded the minority. Some Democrats have heckled Trump, mounted rogue impeachment attempts, but the base wants more. Some of them are suggesting we need to get shot. Our base is telling us, quote, that there needs to be blood to grab the attention of the press and the public. A fourth House Democrat said constituents have told him civility isn't working and to prepare for violence to fight to protect our democracy. A fifth House Democrat told Axios that people online have sent me crazy stuff, except he didn't say stuff, told me to storm the White House and stuff like that. A sixth House Democrat said that when they try to persuade voters to channel their frustrations into winning back Congress, people are angry. They don't accept that. They're angry beyond this. It's like the Roman Colosseum. People want to see a spectacle. Many lawmakers said these voters tend to be white, well-educated, and live in upscale, suburban, or urban neighborhoods. The expectations aren't just unreal, they're dangerous. A ninth lawmaker told Axios, I actually said in a meeting when they light a fire, my thought is to grab a fire extinguisher, and someone at the table said, have you tried gasoline? Chris Murphy the other day said fight fire with fire, and Democrats are in a war and they have to do things they wouldn't otherwise be comfortable with, and they need to stop bemoaning the shattering of norms. And here comes a progressive activist carving anti-fascist slogans on his ammunition before killing Charlie Kirk. And their response is to deny that he's actually tied to the left. I put this data in the show notes today. According to YouGov, 77% of Republicans say it is always unacceptable for a person to be happy about the death of a public figure they oppose. 77% say it's always unacceptable. Do you know how many Democrats say it's always unacceptable to be happy about the death of a political figure they oppose? 38%. 77 for Republicans, 38 for Democrats. The National Contagion Research Institute at Rutgers University found 48% of left of center voters stated it would be at least somewhat justified to murder Elon Musk. 55% of them said it would be somewhat justified to murder Donald Trump. 71% of young Democrats said they would not date someone who voted for a Republican. Only 31% of Republicans felt the same way. 43% of Republicans said people in the opposing party can't be trusted. 55% of Democrats said it. 10% of Republicans said the 2024 election damaged their friendships with others. 27% of Democrats said so. Yesterday at the University of Louisville in Kentucky, a person put up a cartoon of Charlie Kirk with blood gushing out of his neck with the slogan, "Debate this." You know the most striking and alarming thing to me? The number of professionals comfortable on social media saying he got what he deserved, good for him, great aim by the shooter, cheering it on. There are a number of progressives saying, I thought you guys hated cancel culture. You know, I oppose cancel culture, but I also oppose a teacher who would teach my kids being comfortable going on social media under their name saying, screw Charlie Kirk, he got what he deserved. I don't want that teacher teaching my kids. And yeah, I do think that person needs to lose their job. If you think that any American deserves to die because of their political views, there's something wrong with you. And there's something really festering on the left right now. And by the way, it's going to get worse because you can see now in the conversations about Charlie Kirk that the left can't have these conversations. They're incapable of having these conversations. They have to yell about Donald Trump. They have to yell about Donald Trump's comments. It turns out this guy is a progressive anti-fascist activist. And they're mad at Donald Trump saying as much before we found out. But it didn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that the person gunning down Charlie Kirk was not on the right. That's, they were wishes. Maybe it was a neo-Nazi. He didn't like the neo-Nazis. It could have been a neo-Nazi. Right. It's just the insane refusal of progressives to acknowledge the problem on their own side. You've got literally Democratic members of Congress saying they're scared of their base. Their base is turning is so angry they're turning violent. You've got Democrats willing to tell Axios this, and the progressives online are like, we're not angry. We just think that everyone needs to die who disagrees with us. You've got professors and doctors and lawyers and teachers, university professors, deans of students online, on LinkedIn, no less, the most boring, lame social media account out there saying Charlie Kirk deserved what he got. Yeah, I think those people should lose their jobs. There's the difference between the purple-haired barista who's never going to amount to much in life saying Charlie Kirk got what he deserved, and the dean of students at Middle Tennessee University, or your local veterinarian. There's a veterinarian in Woodstock, Georgia, who got online. In fact, hang on, I can read you this. I will be kind to this person, more kind than she is, and keep her name out of it. But local veterinarian. Charlie Kirk embodied evil, and evil took him to hell. I would say I'm sorry for his kids, but maybe this will free them from his hell. It's a doctor, a veterinarian in Woodstock, Georgia, who felt comfortable replying under her own name to that on social media. Her business is being harassed now. I don't think people should harass her, but I do think people shouldn't send their pets to her if they're conservatives. There was a doctor, people are targeting this hospital, probably a good thing, that essentially said if Charlie Kirk had been in his hospital, he would have done whatever he could to make sure he bled out. If you're a conservative, why would you want to go to that doctor? Why would you want to engage with these people who feel so comfortable hating someone that they think it's okay for him to have been assassinated for his political views, for his words? There's a darkness on the left. And you know what? You want to both sides it? Fine. Yeah, there is for some on the right too. But this isn't about the right now. This is Charlie Kirk who got murdered. Leader of the youth movement on the right. And he got murdered by a progressive anti-fascist. You people keep denying the anti-fascists are a problem, and the anti-fascists are the ones who keep murdering people. I mean, the data is there. Again, if you text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777, I've got the picture from the University of Louisville, the cartoon of the assassinated Charlie Kirk, with them the caption, debate this. I've got the data. Only 38% of Democrats believe it's always unacceptable for a person to be happy about the death of a public figure they oppose. 77% of Republicans say it is always unacceptable for a person to be happy about the death of a public figure. 55% of people who identify as left of center say it would be somewhat justified to murder Donald Trump. 71% of young Democrats say they would refuse to date a Republican. Only 31% of young Republicans on a college campus say the same thing. And yet time and time again, everything, even the press on CNN, on MSNBC, and in social media, it's all, well, Republicans, but Trump. They use but Trump as a shield to protect themselves from the festering monstrosity on their side. And you've got Democratic members of Congress saying we're starting to get scared of our base. Our base wants us to get shot. Our base wants blood spilled. Where are the Democratic leaders willing to criticize Adam Schiff and Chris Murphy? You know what? I'll give the last word in this monologue over to Bernie Sanders.
Thank you very much for joining me. I want to say a few words regarding the terrible murder yesterday of Charlie Kirk, someone who I strongly disagreed with on almost every issue, but who was clearly a very smart and effective communicator and organizer, and someone unafraid to get out into the world and engage the public. My condolences go out to his wife and his family. A free and democratic society, which is what America is supposed to be about, depends upon the basic premise that people can speak out, organize, and take part in public life without fear, without worrying that they might be killed, injured, or humiliated for expressing their political views. In fact, that is the essence of what freedom is about and what democracy is about. You have a point of view? That's great. I have a point of view that is different than yours. That's great. Let's argue it out. We make our case to the American people at the local, state, and federal levels, and we hold free elections in which the people decide what they want. That's called freedom and democracy. And I want as many people as possible to participate in that process without fear. Freedom and democracy is not about political violence. It is not about assassinating public officials. It is not about trying to intimidate people who speak out on an issue. Political violence, in fact, is political cowardice. It means that you cannot convince people of the correctness of your ideas, and you have to impose them through force. Every American, no matter what one's political point of view may be, must condemn all forms of political violence and all forms of intimidation.
We could all learn a lesson from the senator from Vermont who made a lot of sense in that. That was Bernie Sanders. Hello there, it's Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, it's an open line Friday. We're treading a little cautiously with the phones, and I want to just be honest with you that there are a lot of people, emotions are raw, and there's a lot of anger out there, particularly now knowing this person was on the left. And we're trying to be measured and judicious about the calls because of the anger. And I just want to admonish you, Paul writing to the Ephesians said, be angry, but do not sin. Anger is a natural emotion. What you do with the anger defines you. Charlie Kirk told an audience recently that they needed to harness their anger for good change. And good change was getting involved in the political process, not violence. And I would tell you the same thing. If you're angry, well, maybe go to church, get involved in politics, and try to win elections in hearts and minds of people. That's what you can do. Recently, 10 regional banks had their credit downgraded. They're going to keep racking profits and get a sweetheart bailout if something happens to them, maybe sold to a mega bank. My friends at Swiss America have been sounding the alarm about a secret war on cash and all-out assault on our freedoms. With soaring interest rates squeezing the economy and banks teetering on collapse, Swiss America wants to educate you to help you protect your hard-earned assets now. You can get their report, The Secret War on Cash, completely free. All you do is call or text 800-289-2646. The all-out war on cash includes digital forms of currency, and it's spreading daily. So read The Secret War on Cash. It is completely free. Just mention me, Eric Erickson, when you call or text 800-289-2646. That's 800-289-2646. You can just text my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 800-289-2646, or go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric. That's SwissAmerica.com/ERICK. Message and data rates may apply.